I've been reading Genesis chapter 17, and God has been speaking to me. When you read a Bible chapter, you must look for phrases that are repeated. And in Genesis chapter 17, it's no rocket science. The phrase as far is repeated 3 times. Genesis 17 and verse 4, I read from the New American Standard Bible, NASB. Verse 4 says, "As for me, behold, my covenant is with you," God says to Abraham. You know, every Bible covenant, it is God who initiates. Even this covenant that God made with us, the everlasting covenant, it originated from Him. When we were still in sin, when we were still in darkness, God came down to this world to save us. God became flesh. Jesus came down. He loved us first. Even before we could think of Him, He thought about us first. So, as for me, okay, that's one thing. So, that is our privilege, and that is what God does for us. He says, "As for me." And then in Genesis chapter 17, the "as for me," is there. So when we hear "as for me," what do we say? Praise the Lord, it's a privilege. But with privilege comes responsibility. And that is what the next "as for you" talks about. Verse 9, God said further to Abraham. So do not let cultic false teachers rob you of the further in the Bible. They'll take you to some place and they are biblical. They have some biblical points, but you need to go further biblical. Okay, they are biblical. They are telling you a truth. It's actually a half truth, but you need to go further down the road. And that's what Genesis chapter 17 and verse 9 says. God said further to Abraham. This is the New American Standard Bible. I am enjoying this even as I'm speaking to you. God said further to Abraham, "Now as for you, you shall keep my covenant." And you know the story of Genesis 17. God told Abraham to circumcise all the males. You transport that to the New Testament. Circumcision was a mark made in a particular part of a male's body, which the male would use daily, and whenever he saw that, or whenever his thought raced to that part of his body, and males being sexually driven beings, that's it was a cut on that part of that body. You know what I'm talking about. So what is the spiritual meaning? The spiritual meaning is, look here guys, I'm coming down to make a covenant with you, an everlasting covenant. And in response, all I expect is you need to be thinking about me. And in the Old Testament, it was a physical mark. In the New Testament, it's all about thinking of Jesus all the time. It's about falling in love with Jesus all the time. And that love results in obedience. And it was circumcision in the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, it is obedience to Jesus and His Word. Obedience without delay. So as for me, God says, and then God says to Abraham, "As for you," that's your responsibility. And then it doesn't end with "as for me." The chapter continues. Look at Genesis 17 and verse 20. The third "as for" in Genesis 17. "And now as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I will bless him." God is not only concerned about you, the individual. God is also concerned about the Ishmaels of the world. Because right around you, there are many people in your world who do not know Him. And God has an "as for" them, which means you need to pray for them, which means you need to live the gospel before them, which means you need to share the gospel with them, with a testimony, with an Instagram live, whatever way you can. You need to use your time, talent, treasure, whatever God has graciously given you, because His plan includes not just "as for him," "as for you," but also "as for X." Here in this case is Ishmael. It could be that person next door in the flat that you live in who doesn't know Jesus. It could be that tribe in North Sentinel Island which John Allen Chow went to preach the gospel to. and consequently died as a martyr. It could be, that as for Ishmael, as for XYZ could be the people, persons God is calling you to reach. So read Genesis 17 once again and count the number of as fors in that chapter, and God will further underline this message I'm sharing with you through this Instagram live. It's an exciting journey. Now, when you read a chapter, when you read a Bible passage, look for repeated words, and my God will speak to you, and that message will transform your life. God bless you.